what general analysis can you make, and what is actually at stake in that Horn of African country?
Well, what I would say about Sudan, knowing that Sudan is a body of the African structure or the African continent, so it is vital for Sudan to survive in its leadership and for Sudan to be able to create a nation whereby the Sudanese themselves can be able to join in the development of the unity and the unification and the restoration of the African people. This is very important. And if you look at the systems in place right now in Sudan, we have come to really see that coups are a threat to the international community and to the, how will I call it, the roadmap of democracy. And like I've said before, in history, we have seen how coups in Africa have always turned out to give Africans the leaders that reflect the demands of their own people. Like I kept citing people like Sankara, Gaddafi. We know of Mugabe, Robert Mugabe, in the days where he was fighting over 300 white minorities that were ruling over 7 million Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe, where Mugabe was in exile. We went to another African country before he could take over that nation and led that nation until his passing away. So what I'm saying here is that if we do not find how will I call it, a kind of a means whereby we can integrate the idea of people or leaders that really want to seek the interests of the people, and like I kept saying, they must not pass through a democratic process. They must not be democratically elected, because we have realized that leaders that are democratically elected are always partisan. They are always tribalistic. They are always there to protect their party and their democracy, and not the people in whom they were called to represent. Sure. And that is why we are saying that in Africa, democracy, don't get me wrong, like I kept saying, democracy in Africa is an abuse because the African people are underdeveloped and the African people are not civilized. For one to be civilized simply means for one to adapt to another person's culture. That is the simple meaning of civilization. So who is civilizing who here? Are we being civilized by the African civilization or by our founding father, or is it an importation of a system by the West which wants to take over Africa and force the African people to adapt to what is against their own value and against their own culture and against their own identity? Like I said, and I gave very clear statistics and example, in the West,